Greetings to all the viewers. I, Gargi Gupta, Faculty of Psychology at SRN International School, Jagatpura, Jaipur, welcome you all to our official YouTube channel. First of all, I would like to thank you all for your overwhelming response on my previous video. Today, in this video, we are going to continue with the same chapter 4, that is Psychological Disorders, which is part of NCERT Grade 12 Psychology. In the part 1, we talked about the abnormal behavior, its historical background, and the approaches to study the abnormal behavior. In this video, we are going to study about the various psychological disorders and also what is a psychological disorder. In case you have not watched the part 1 of this chapter, I have attached the link in the description below. Please see the part 1 of this chapter so you are able to follow the second part. So let's see the table of contents. We will be covering the major psychological disorders which are mentioned in the NCERT of Grade 12 Psychology. Let's see. First, anxiety disorders. Second, obsessive compulsive and related disorders. Third, that is trauma and stressor related disorders. Fourth, somatic symptom and related disorders. Fifth, dissociative disorders. And sixth, as depressive disorders. Initially, we will talk about what a psychological disorder is, what do we mean by this terminology in psychology, and later we are going to talk in detail about each and every psychological disorder which has been mentioned in the slide. Now, the first thing which we need to know before talking about the various psychological disorders is what actually a psychological disorder is. What kind of behavior can be categorized into the behavior shown by an individual having a psychological disorder. So, psychological disorder, also called a mental illness or a psychiatric disorder, is a behavioral or mental pattern that causes significant distress or impairment of personal functioning. Now, here at this point, I want you to focus on the word distress. Yes, it is that same word which you have read in the previous chapter, which means the negative kind of stress which imbalances your normal life. So psychological disorder is not only the behavioral, it is also a mental pattern. That means there's a change in your mental condition, there's a change in your behavioral pattern, and it affects your normal functioning of the life. When these things are present, that's when we consider that an individual is suffering from a psychological disorder. Now, let's see what are anxiety disorder. It's first major psychological disorder that we are going to talk about. Now, before talking about the anxiety disorder, let me give you a very basic situation. Or let's talk about a story. Now, there was this one man whose name was Deb. So, one fine day, he was driving home and he felt his heart beating rapidly. He started sweating profusely and even felt short of breath. He was so scared at that point of time that he stopped the car and stepped out of the car. Now, in the next few months, these attacks, the same feeling of shortness of breath and heart beating rapidly, this thing increased and increased to such a level that he was hesitant to drive for fear of being caught in traffic during an attack. Now, Death started feeling that he had gone crazy and he would die. Soon, what happened as a result, he remained indoors and refused to move out of the house because of that fear of embarrassment in the social situation. Now, let's read what are anxiety disorders. So, the term anxiety is usually defined as a diffuse, vague, very unpleasant feelings of fear and depression. The anxious individual also shows combinations of the following symptoms: rapid heart rate, shortness of breath, etc. Now, in the story also, you can observe that Deb was having rapid heartbeats. He was feeling the fear of the embarrassment. He was having unpleasant feeling of that particular moment. So that's when we call it was an anxiety disorder when it increased in a month to the multiple times. If you are having it once in a while, that is normal. But if you're having it recurrently again and again in a very short period of time, that's when we term it as a disorder. Now, let's see what are the different types of anxiety disorders. So, the first type of anxiety disorder is generalized anxiety disorder, acronymed as GAD. Second, panic disorder. Third, phobias. And fourth is SAD, which is separation anxiety disorder. Now, let's talk about each of these anxiety disorders in detail. Symptoms of anxiety disorder: rapid heart rate, the heartbeat starts increasing. Shortness of breath, the individual is feeling, shortness of breath. That means he's not comfortable breathing. Diarrhea, loss of appetite, an individual doesn't feel like eating. Fainting, dizziness, sweating, sleeplessness, the individual is not comfortable sleeping, is not feeling like sleeping. He's unable to sleep. Frequent urination and tremors. So these all are the symptoms of anxiety disorder. Next type is the generalized anxiety disorder or GAD. It consists of prolonged, vague, unexplained and intense fears that are not attached to any particular object. Now, here one thing that you have to keep in mind, that it is not attached to any particular object. That means it can be a fear related to anything but not attached to any particular object. Now, the symptoms include worry and apprehensive feelings about the future, hypervigilance, which involves constantly scanning the environment for dangers. It is marked by motor tension, as a result of which the person is unable to relax, is restless, and visibly shaky and tense. So, when an individual is going to suffer from GAD, that is generalized anxiety disorder, he or she is going to worry a lot about the future. Is going to have apprehensive feelings about the future, that what is going to happen next in the future. Am I going to succeed in this project? The person is going to be hyper vigilant. That means very observant to the surrounding, looking for the dangers around, that someone is going to harm me. When such things are going to happen, the person will experience the motor tension. As a result of which, when you are having a lot of tension, what happens? You are unable to relax. You feel restless. And the individual suffering from GAD, who is having the motor tension, he will not be able to relax. He will be restless, won't be able to, calm himself down, will not be able to achieve the peace. And he will be visibly shaky and tensed. Next is the panic disorder. It consists of recurrent anxiety attacks. Mentioning again the recurrent anxiety attacks in which the person experiences intense terror. A panic attack denotes an abrupt surge of intense anxiety rising to a peak when thoughts for particular stimuli are present. Such thoughts occur in an unpredictable manner. The clinical features include shortness of breath, dizziness, trembling, palpitations, choking, nausea, chest pain or discomfort, fear of going crazy, losing control, or even dying. Now, when the person panics, this is a very common word that we are using, which is wrong. A person who's having a panic disorder consists of having the recurrent anxiety attack in which the person experiences the terror. Okay, it can denote the abrupt surge of intense anxiety, which can lead to rise in a peak when thoughts of a particular stimuli are present. For example, if a person gets the panic attack by some event, let's say experiencing failure, so even the thought of experiencing failure will lead to the panic attack. Now, such thoughts are in very unpredictable manner. You cannot predict that when the person can get panicked with this particular thought. The clinical features will have shortness of breath, dizziness, trembling, palpitations, choking, the same ones that we discussed in the common symptoms of the anxiety with few more added, that is fear of going crazy, losing control, nausea, palpitations, etc. Next is phobia. Now, 100% you must have met or heard of someone who was afraid to travel in a lift or climb to the 10th floor of a building or refuse to enter a room if he or she saw a lizard. Now, you may also have felt it yourself or seen a friend unable to speak a word of a well mentioned and rehearsed speech before an audience. Now, these kind of fears of particular things, these are termed as phobias. People who have phobias have irrational fears. Irrational fears which are not normal. Not everyone develop these fears, but few people have this particular phobia from that particular object, people or situation. And they often develop gradually or begin with a GAD. Now, there are three types of phobia. First, specific phobia, social phobia, or agoraphobia. Let's see what are these phobias in detail. The first type of phobia, that is the specific phobia. This group includes irrational fears such as intense fear of a certain type of animal or of being in an enclosed space. So when you are having or when an individual is having the phobia of one particular thing, of one particular animal, a specific thing, object, or event, that's when we term that type of phobia as the specific phobia. Another type is the social phobia. Intense and incapacitating fear and embarrassment when dealing with others characterize social anxiety disorder, that is the social phobia. When an individual is not comfortable, feels phobic of entering into an embarrassment or an embarrassing situation in a social situation, that's when we term it as a social phobia. When the person is having the fear and embarrassment when talking to someone, when communicating with someone for the first time. So this characterizes the social anxiety disorder or the social phobia. And the last type of phobia is the agoraphobia, which is term which is used when people develop a fear of entering unfamiliar situation. That is again to face the embarrassment. That's when we call it agoraphobia. Next, let's talk about the separation anxiety disorder, acronymed as SAD. So now the individuals with separation anxiety disorder are fearful and anxious about separation from attachment figures to an extent that is developmentally not appropriate. Children with SAD may have difficulty being in a room by themselves, going to school alone, are fearful of entering new situations and cling to and shadow their parents' every move. To avoid separation, children with SAD may fuss, scream, throw severe tantrums, or make suicidal gestures. Now, what happens when an individual is having SAD, that is separation anxiety disorder? The person fears the separation. Now, this fear of separation can be from an object or can be from a person. The person, the individual having SAD can fear from separating from his mother or maybe father or maybe guardian or even a toy. So the ones who are not showing the appropriate behavior after separation, they show difficulty being alone in a room or going to the school alone or entering new situations because they are always clingy or they always shadow their parents every move. Like we a lot of time we observe this kids are moving around their parents only and are not that much explorative when it is happening in a normal situation. Okay, but when this increases, for example, the child has grown up, a 10-year-old child is still shadowing the parent. That's when these can be the symptoms of SAD. And to avoid separation, to avoid this unfavorable situation, children with SAD, they may fuss, they may scream and throw severe tantrums and even make suicidal gestures. Now let's have a quick recap of all the major anxiety disorder and their symptoms that we have studied by now. The first one was GAD, that is Generalized Anxiety Disorder. It is prolonged, vague, unexplained, and intense fears that have no object accompanied by hypervigilance and mood attention. Second was panic disorder, which was about frequent anxiety attacks characterized by feelings of intense terror and dread, unpredictable panic attacks, along with physiological symptoms like breathlessness, palpitations, trembling, dizziness, and a sense of losing control or even dying. Third was the phobia, which was irrational fears related to specific object, interaction with others, and unfamiliar situations. Next was the separation anxiety disorder, which was extreme distress when expecting or going through separation from home or other significant people to whom the individual is immensely attached to. Other disorders included under this category are selective mutism, substance medication induced anxiety disorder, or anxiety disorder due to another medical condition, etc. Now, let's talk about the obsessive compulsive and related disorders. Before talking about the obsessive compulsive and related disorders, have you ever noticed someone washing their hands every time they touch something, or washing even things like coins, or stepping only within the patterns on the floor or road while walking? You must have someone or the other who is like washing their hands continuously, or like whensoever they are touching something, they are cleaning it. A lot of people we see, for example, in an interview, Deepika Padukone, she told us that she has this obsessive and the compulsive thing. She need to clean everything again and again. She's not satisfied after cleaning the things. She feel like she need to clean it once again. So these are those symptoms of OCD, that is obsessive compulsive disorder. People affected by obsessive compulsive disorder are unable to control their preoccupation with specific ideas, or are unable to prevent themselves from repeatedly carrying out a particular act or series of acts that affect their ability to carry out normal activities. Obsessive behavior is the inability to stop thinking about a particular idea or topic. The person involved often finds these thoughts to be unpleasant and shameful. Compulsive behavior is the need to perform certain behaviors over and over again. Many compulsions deal with counting, ordering, checking, touching, and washing. Other disorders in this category including hoarding disorder, trichotillomania, that is the hair pulling disorder, excoriation, that is skin picking disorder, etc. What happens when a person is showing the obsessive behavior? That means the person is obsessed with a particular thing. The person is unable to stop thinking about that particular idea or that particular topic. And they find that these thoughts are unpleasant and are shameful in the eyes of the other people. Individuals showing compulsive behavior, they perform a certain behavior again and again and again, and they're still not satisfied. Okay, so OCD, people who are having OCD, they are unable to control the preoccupation with some ideas, and they are unable to prevent themselves to repeatedly do that thing. Okay, so this category include hoarding disorder, trichotillomania, that is the hair pulling disorder, excoriation disorder, that is the skin picking disorders. Now let's talk about the trauma and stress related disorders. So now very often people who are being caught in a natural disaster such as tsunami, or have been victim of bomb blast by terrorists, or been in a serious accident, or in a war related situation. These are generally the people who experience post traumatic stress disorder, that is PTSD. Now, PTSD symptoms vary widely but may include recurring dreams, flashbacks, impaired concentration, and emotional numbing. Adjustment disorders and acute stress disorders are also included under this category. So, people who are having PTSD, They have recurrent dreams, the flashbacks of that particular event, or I should say that particular unpleasant event which they experienced. Can be an earthquake, tsunami, or a bomb blast, or be anything due to which they developed a trauma. Next, let's talk about the somatic symptom and related disorders. These are conditions in which there are physical symptoms in the absence of a physical disease. Please focus. These are conditions in which there are physical symptoms in absence of a physical disease. That means the individual shows the physical symptoms but actually is not having a disease. In these type of disorders, the individual has psychological difficulties and complains of physical symptoms. Now, the difficulty is psychological, but he is complaining of the physical symptoms for which there is no biological cause. The disorders included in this category are conversion disorders, somatic symptom disorder, and illness anxiety disorder, among others, which we are going to study in detail right now. Somatic symptom disorder. Somatic symptom disorder involves a person having persistent body related symptoms which may or may not be related to any serious medical condition. People with this disorder tend to be overly preoccupied with their symptoms and they continually worry about their health and make frequent visits to doctors. As a result, they experience significant distress and disturbances in their daily life. Now, an individual who is having somatic symptom disorder is not going to have any biological condition, but he or she will be visiting continuously to the doctor, very frequently to the doctor to talk about I might be having this disease, I might be having this disorder. So he or she will be continuously worried about their health. And when you or when that individual is worried about that particular thing for a longer period of time, they experience distress and disturbance in their daily life because they are continuously thinking, they are continuously stressed about their health. So this is what we call as the somatic symptom disorder. Now, the illness anxiety disorder. Illness anxiety disorder involves persistent preoccupation about developing a serious illness and constantly worrying about this possibility. This is accompanied by anxiety about one's health. Individuals with illness anxiety disorder are overly concerned about undiagnosed disease, negative diagnostic results, do not respond to assurance by doctors, and are easily alarmed about illness, such as on hearing about someone else's ill health or some such news. So now what happens, the individuals who have this disorder, when they hear it from their friend that their relative suffered from this particular disease and these were the symptoms, person having the IAD, that is illness anxiety disorder, he panics about it. He starts worrying about it that there's a possibility he is also suffering from that particular disease. He's too much concerned that maybe he's having some disease which is not yet diagnosed. He might have the negative diagnostic result. Even he is not convinced by the diagnosis by the doctor. Even if the doctor assures that he's fit and fine, he's not convinced by it. Now, you must be thinking that both somatic symptom disorder and illness anxiety disorder, they both sound same. Yes, in general, both of them are concerned with medical illness, but there's a difference. Difference lies in the way this concern is expressed. In the case of somatic symptom disorder, this expression is in terms of physical complaints, while in the case of illness anxiety disorder, as the name suggests, it is the anxiety which is the main concern. In the somatic one, the individual will talk about having the physical symptoms for which there is no biological disease present. But in illness anxiety disorder, the main concern is having anxiety, okay? And that's where we talk about the illness anxiety disorder. Moving forward, is the conversion disorder. Symptoms of conversion disorders are the reported loss of part or all of some basic body functions. Paralysis, blindness, deafness, and difficulty in walking are generally among the symptoms reported. These symptoms often occur after a stressful experience and may be quite sudden. So, a lot of time when the individual has some stressful experience, so he might develop a conversion disorder, which reports the loss of part or some basic body functions. For example, the symptoms can be paralysis, blindness, deafness, difficulty in walking, etc. Next are dissociative disorders. Dissociation can be viewed as severance of the connections between ideas and emotions. Dissociation involves feeling of unreality, estrangement, depersonalization, and sometimes a loss or shift of identity. Such temporary alterations of consciousness that blot out painful experiences are a defining characteristic of dissociative disorders. Conditions included in this are dissociative amnesia, dissociative identity disorder, and depersonalization, which is also referred to as derealization disorder. When an individual is suffering from dissociative disorder, it can be viewed that the person is dissociated from the connection between his ideas and his emotions. The feeling of unreality, estrangement, depersonalization, or the shift of identity is also observed. Now, let's read in detail about these dissociative disorders. First is dissociative amnesia. It is characterized by extensive but selective memory loss that has no organic cause. Now, the person is having the selective memory loss. A particular part of the past is lost, but there is no organic cause which is known. For example, a head injury. Okay. Some people cannot remember anything about their past. Others can no longer recall specific events, people, places, or objects. Now, there are few cases of dissociative amnesia where the individual is unable to recall anything from the past, whereas in the other few, the individual is no longer remembering the specific event, people, place, or object. A part of dissociative amnesia is dissociative fugue, which is an essential feature of this could be an unexpected travel away from home and workplace, the assumption of a new identity, and the inability to recall the previous identity. The fugue usually ends when the person suddenly wakes up with no memory of the events that occurred during the fugue. This disorder is often associated with an overwhelming stress. In dissociative amnesia, the individual might have the selective memory loss or the complete loss of memory where he is unable to recall any event, people, place, or object from the past. The part of which is dissociative fugue. The essential feature of dissociative fugue can be the unexpected travel away from home and workplace, assumption of a new identity, and inability to recall the previous identity. For example, the individual will wake up and suddenly, due to the fugue, he will have no memory of the event which happened during the fugue, the identity he was portraying during the fugue. Next is dissociative identity disorder. This is also referred to as multiple personality disorder. It is the most dramatic of the dissociative disorder. It is often associated with traumatic experiences in childhood. In this disorder, the person assumes alternate personalities that may or may not be aware of each other. That means that individual will have multiple personalities, and possibly he might know about the other personality, he might not know about the alternative personality of him. Next is depersonalization, which is also referred to as derealization disorder. It involves a dreamlike state in which the person has a sense of being, separated both from self and from reality. In deep personalization, there is a change of self perception, and the person's sense of reality is temporarily lost or changed. Next, let's talk about the depressive disorders. One of the most prevalent and recognized of all mental disorders is depression. Depression covers a variety of negative moods and behavioral changes. Depression can refer to a symptom or a disorder. In day-to-day life, we often use the term depression to refer to normal feelings after a significant loss, such as the breakup of the relationship or the failure to attain a significant goal. Major depressive disorder is defined as a period of depressed mood and or loss of interest or pleasure in most activities, together with other symptoms which may include change in body weight, constant sleep problems, tiredness, inability to think clearly, agitation, greatly slowed behavior, and thoughts of death and suicide. Other symptoms may include excessive guilt or feelings of worthlessness. So now one of the most widely recognized depressive disorder is depression, which covers a variety of negative moods and the behavioral changes. It can a lot of time refer to a symptom or a disorder. In the regular time or in our day-to-day life, we often use this term to refer to the normal feelings after some unpleasant event which happened in our lives. But actually, the major depressive disorder is defined as period of depressed mood or loss of interest or pleasure in most activities, and may include symptoms like change in body weight, sleep problems, tiredness, etc. Now, let's discuss what are the different factors predisposing towards depression. The first factor can be the genetic makeup, that is, the individual inherits that particular factors or some genes which may lead to depression when exposed to any situation like that. Second is the age, third is the gender, next, negative life events, and the last is the lack of social support. So, when the studies were conducted, it was noticed that the young aged women, they were more prone to the depression as compared to the old aged ones. Similarly, women are more predisposed to depression as compared to males. Happening life events which are negative to you, or you're not getting the social support, even these can be the factors which can lead to the predisposition towards depression. I hope you liked this video and you understood the topics, the various psychological disorders that we discussed in the part 2. In my next video, that is the part 3 of psychological disorders, we will be talking about the mood disorders like bipolar disorder and schizophrenia and some other abusive substance disorders. I hope you like this video. Please support by sharing and subscribing to our channel, and put your comments and do like our video. Thank you and have a nice day.